Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the reason for this bill has been itemized in our handouts. The acceptability of this bill cannot be underscored. This is a bill that has received overwhelming support from this parliament, from Nigerians as a whole, primarily because of the insecurity issues that the government of the day is still battling with to ensure that this great nation has adequate security. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this Peace Corps movement, I personally endorse this movement because I believe it is a panacea to resolving some of the security challenges that we encounter in this country. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, there's inadequate policing in this country. We've deliberated on this floor how many police we need to protect one individual. And we have issues with funding. Mr. Speaker, recently, the federal government has looked for ways and avenues to raise funds, even without the consent of Parliament, to raise funds concerning insecurity matters. I don't want to believe that funding is the main issue why this bill was not accented to. If it's the issue genuinely is funding, and if security of lives and property is paramount and is the business of the day of the present government, then I think, honorable colleagues, we need to rethrow our weight behind this bill and ensure that this bill, for the second time, sees the light of day. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we should be able to operate a security system that can be juxtaposed with other international practice. The Arab wars and European communities have adopted this same Peace Corps movement to be able to check security issues in their own country. Mr. Speaker, the easy word for this is copy and paste. If we cannot be innovative, let us just simply adopt the basic precedents in ensuring security of lives and property. So to this extent, honorable colleagues, I want to throw my weight behind this all-important bill, and I pray it goes for second reading. I so second. Thank you.
Honorable colleagues, I think it's better we understand what we're doing now. This bill was passed, transmitted to the executive for assent, and then Mr. President, in his wisdom, declined assent. So I thought that we will examine the reasons he gave. The debate basically is about whether we agree with the reasons he gave or not, preparatory to taking the ultimate vote, where if we don't agree with him, we may override the veto and pass it into law. So it's important for us to understand the reasons he gave. I don't know if I didn't listen very well to the Chairman Rules and Business when he was leading the debate, if he itemized those reasons. So it's not for us to re-debate the bill all over again, but to look at the reasons he gave and see whether the House will agree with him or not. That's just the essence of this debate, not to re-debate the entire bill. The acting leader.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Munguno. I represent Marke Munguno, Ganzai Federal Constituency of Borno State. Mr. Speaker, the two questions that you postulated for determination centers around whether the reasons given by Mr. President for his refusal to assent to the bill, one, which is funding, and then two, security that mentioned, will hold water against the backdrop of the fact that this House has earlier passed this bill for second reading, up to third reading for its assent. Mr. Speaker, with regard to the issue of security, which Mr. President mentioned, though not well elaborated, not well defined for his refusal to assent to the bill. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, we are all aware, for example, in the Northeast, as a result of the security challenges that we are facing in the Northeast, and because of the fact that Nigeria is under-policed, the Nigerian police force is not able to provide security in all the nooks and crannies of this country. Because of that, in the Northeast, as a result of the Boko Haram insurgency, the people in the Northeast came with the idea of civilian JTF. And it was as a result of the introduction of civilian JTF in the Northeast that we are having the feast today, though coupled with the gallantry displayed by our military. So the passage of this bill into law will be an avenue of recruiting all these members of the civilian JTF, be part and parcel of the Peace Corps, so that they will be meaningfully engaged. Because right now, as we are getting peace in the Northeast, as a result of the gallantry displayed by the present administration, by the military, and support given by the present administration, members of the civilian JTF, they will have nothing to do. And then, if care is not taken, we will go back to square one. So, the Peace Corps is a veritable avenue of engaging members of the civilian JTF so that they can have something meaningful to do, as well as police the Northeast, so that there will be no resurgence of Boko Haram insurgency. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, with regard to the issue of funding, all of us here know that the primary responsibility of any government is the protection of the welfare and security of its citizens. So no amount of money that is going to be spent to guarantee the security and welfare of the citizens is too much. So the issue of funding ab initio should not arise, because we should find ways and means of funding it with a view to recruiting these members of civilian JTF to be part of the Peace Corps with a view to guaranteeing the security, relative security that we have so far achieved in the Northeast. Thank you.
Like this row wants to take all the arguments. Honorable Wase.
Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, my name is Ahmed Idris. I represent Wase, Federal Constituency of Plateau State. Mr. Speaker, I am not attending with what my brother has said for the following reason, sir. Yes, we need to gainfully employ all our people into system so that they can help into production and then be self-sustained. Again, we need to be careful as to how and the method of recruitment. Mr. Speaker, I'm worried about this particular agency that we're about to create, that has been clamored for. Because of the various levels of scandals that followed while the process of putting them in place, even before the bill was brought. Recall, Mr. Speaker, the supposed head of the organization was going around collecting 50,000 naira per person across the country. I can attest to it that in my constituency, I know some people that approach me to give out this kind of money. And I'm worried that if these are the kind of person that will head the place, I'm sorry that we may not achieve what we want to achieve. Two, if at all, the civilian JTF have gainfully and well-done job, done a well-done job, should that be the only avenue for them to be employed? Today in Nigeria, Mr. Speaker, those that started the Civil Defense Corps are still on volunteering. Government will not be able to absorb them. I would try now again to create another avenue for again suffering the big population and strong population of Nigerians. I have not seen the correct budget, what number of persons, the projection. Mr. President raised the issue of budget provision or funding. I think we should be concerned as to where we should now deploy our resources so we can adequately have the application of our money in the right place and at the right time. Not long ago, Mr. Speaker, with all the good gains of what we thought in terms of the issue of jets that were coming to the country, because of the process and procedure, Mr. Speaker, we raised quite a number of issues. I want to believe that we should be given
Honorable Manik Baba, please resume your seat.
Explain to us.
Manik Baba, Kumboso, Kano State, please.
Of either allowing this
go back
or not. I will appeal to my brother to step down rather. I wouldn't say they should kill it, but to step down so that we'll do a thorough job on this particular bill and understand it better. We should not rush into an issue where possibly tomorrow will now turn out to be faced with another challenge. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Sunday.
I wish my colleagues would see this.
Sunday, Deputy, please.
My submissions.
Honorable E.J. Aboima, Acting Deputy.
My right honorable Speaker and dear colleagues, I remain Honorable E.J. Agboanyima, representing the good people of Ego, Bubaka Federal Constituency, Edo State, the heartbeat of the nation. Mr. Speaker, as much that I am not against this bill, a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Peace Corps. Mr. Speaker and dear colleagues, the issue here, the reason why Mr. President Buhari refused to assent to this bill.
Please, honorable member, silence, please.
Two fundamental issues: security and funding. Mr. Speaker, some of us are trained security intelligence, Mr. Speaker. But let me say this: when you are talking about security, when you are dealing with security, I think Mr. President knows better. And we appeal and advise this honorable House. We are here to discuss, to engage, to lobby one another. There's nothing wrong for the leadership to go beyond, to see what are the reasons of the security issues. Because what we are discussing here are serious issues. Funding. Funding, of course, Nigerian police have been underfunded. We have abandoned that setup. Yes, Nigeria wanted to give the best. Poorly funded, poorly equipped, poorly trained. I remember those days, my honorable colleagues, how the police used to be people's friends. Working together. The community working with the police working with the community. Yes, Nigerian Peace Corps is not a wrong thing to do, but we must look beyond. Look at the mind of Mr. President. The reason why he refused to assent to it, before we can say that this matter should be put to rest. Mr. Speaker, I am not against this bill, I must repeat myself, but I am most caution ourselves. The way we handle things here, that budget is about issue. Nigerians are suffering, I agree. Nigerians, students graduated 4 years, 5 years, sometimes because of strike, 8 years, they're out of school, no employment. How do we engage them? Should we now, because of the security issue and funding, we should not say we will not go about this? We should look inside deeply. But also, I'm requesting that the leadership of this House should sit down with Mr. President and discuss the way forward, so that you can educate us. At the end of the day, we know how to debate this issue. At this time, Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal to the Honorable House. We must do the needful. But security issue that has to do with this country is not something that will be discussed at the beer parlor on top of the table. We must discuss it in a very diplomatic way so that our enemy will not know our strategy. Let's discuss this matter, Mr. Speaker, and I want to urge this House, please, the leadership, discuss it further. Approach Mr. President. Why did he refuse? Security reason? Yes. You should know why, Mr. Speaker and dear colleagues. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Honorable Bashir. But Honorable Ija, are we discussing it in a beer parlor? Because I don't know where you invented that one from.
One House, please. Honorable EJ, be guided.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm from Kano State, and my name is Babale Bashir. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I think I don't want the situation whereby we'll be progressing and at the same time retrogressing. Mr. Speaker, here we are in a parliament which in my 7 years in this parliament, I have been a member of various security committees, from Army, Defense, Air Force, Navy, Immigration, Prisons, and Civil Defense. No, various. Mr. Speaker, year after year, whenever those security apparatus come for the budget defense, they always tell us that they are underfunded. They lack the financial resources to carry their activities. Mr. Speaker, here we are in a chamber with just last 4 weeks. We deliberated on issues with regard to insecurity in Nigeria. And we all agreed that Nigeria is under-policed because we have only less than 300,000 police policing over 180 million Nigerians. Mr. Speaker, the story is the same when you go to Army, the same when you go to Navy, the same when you go to Air Force, and when you go to prisons, is the same story. Mr. Speaker, as a member of Army Committee, whenever we go out for oversight, I always sympathize with the condition of the military when you go to their barracks. Mr. Speaker, 2 years ago, when we came back from an oversight, we went to Bauchi. We brought a message to you. The barrack commandant in Shadawanka, or what, I have forgotten the name of the barrack in Bauchi, that they are asking only for borehole as a source of water, for drinking water for them and their family. Mr. Speaker, when you go out today, all the military checkpoints, all the police checkpoints, you find out all the security managed checkpoints are not fully kitted. Right from the boot to the raincoat, to the rain boot and others. When you go to communication, gadgets in our security institution is the same story. Mr. Speaker, we don't need to deceive ourselves. Security institutions are underfunded in Nigeria. And when the existing ones are underfunded, why are we trying to bring a new one? Mr. Speaker, the issue of finance is critical. The situation whereby we cannot even fund the existing one, why are we bringing a new one? Mr. Speaker, today, globally, everywhere, Peace Corps is considered as a volunteerism. Yes, you can volunteer to maintain peace and order in your community. I don't know why in Nigeria today we just feel like because we don't have sufficient police, we don't have sufficient army. Is it their fault? It is because there's no sufficient appropriation for them to recruit again. I am sure if the money is given to Nigerian army today, if the money is given to police today, they can recruit up to 1 million Nigerians. and there are over 1 million Nigerians waiting outside there to be enrolled as police or army in Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, just last year, when the police advertised that they are to recruit 10,000 Nigerians, over 300,000 Nigerians applied. So if to say there is money allocated to Nigerian police to recruit 300 Nigerians, that is to say, we will put 300,000 Nigerians. That is to say, the issue of under-policing will be a story of the past. Mr. Speaker, the issue of insecurity is also very paramount and important. Today, we are asking for Peace Corps. Tomorrow, it can be Boys Brigade. Next tomorrow, Nigerian Scout or Boy Scout of Nigeria. Next tomorrow, if I decide, I will come and say that Vigilant Group of Nigeria, or Jama'at Nasr Islam, or any other religious body can wake up and say that we want to be registered as a security outfit because we lack security, the number of securities in Nigeria is not sufficient enough. Mr. Speaker, the case of civilian JTF, is it that they must be enrolled in Peace Corps? They are working hand in hand with Nigerian Army and other security outfits. What stops the government to make sufficient allocation for recruitment of those civilian JTF, those who are qualified to become Army, Air Force, Navy, Police, or Civil Defense? Mr. Speaker, even the existing ones, we cannot fund them. Where are we bringing new burden to ourselves? And the issue of insecurity, Mr. Speaker, this is an institution which has been existing for over 7-8 years run by an individual. He has his people. He has his people. He has been having a running battle with Nigerian police. And now he said that president should assent and they will become government workers. And from there, we don't know how they emerge. That to say we are creating a new insecurity for ourselves. We are creating a monster for ourselves. So in view of that, I must thank Mr. President for his foresight for not assenting to this bill. That is my take, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Namdas.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Abdrazak Namdas. I represent the people of Ganye, Jada, Tongoma, Ibelwa. I am from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, personally, I'm here to support this very bill. I know, Mr. Speaker, that Mr. President gave two serious reasons. One, security. Two, funding. I want to echo the position of some of my colleagues. One, the primary essence of government is security and welfare. And therefore, that will be taken seriously. If the primary essence of government is security and welfare, then we have to look at security very seriously. Number two, funding. It's not only the Peace Corps, it's not only the police, it's not only the army. A lot of agencies of government, ministries are really underfunded. I agree with that. But Mr. Speaker, you cannot equate insecurity with the issue of funding. I come from the northeast part of this country. And today, Mr. Speaker, even just yesterday, if you hear what is happening in Gwari, just on the major road, about 42 people are being kidnapped on a daily basis. So what we are saying is that if we can be able to get this Peace Corps through, they can really assist in reducing some of the security challenges in some of these issues. Because to just assume that if you can employ more number of police, and that will take care, Mr. Speaker, I think that will not necessarily be right. Because I want to call on my colleagues here that there is need for us to support this very bill. We must not look at the issue of funding alone. We should look at the security of life. If some of us, it's a whole family in a particular society, zone, some of us lost most of our family members due to one security issue or the other. If you are affected with this kind of situation, today you may not be speaking in these terms. Because if you go to some villages, an entire village is wiped out. They are not existing as I speak. And this, we know, the army that people are talking about, sir, the army today is seriously overwhelmed with a lot of activities. The primary role of the army is to ensure that they safeguard the sovereignty of this country. But today, the army is in Niger Delta, the army is working on the Boko Haram, The army is working on cattle rustling. The army is working on pipeline fertilization. They are all underutilized. There is need for us to look inwards and look at it passionately and see how we can be able to help this position. I realize that, in my opinion, we should consider this bill.
Silence, please.
This row has taken 30 minutes. I'll move to another row. Maybe we'll come back. Honorable Gaza.
Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Gaza Jonathan Befi, and I represent the people of Karu, Kefi, Kokona Federal Constituency of Nasarawa State. Honorable colleagues, let me first start by saying the Constitution of the Federal Republic, Section 14, guarantees every citizen of this country security, right to security and welfare. Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, you'll agree with me that the past couple of months and indeed years have brought about a lot of bloodshed, a lot of insecurity situations in our country. I happen to be a member of the Air Force Parliament, and in a research that has been done in the Committee on Agric, it has been discovered that there's an expansion due to global warming of the desert areas, which is to say a lot of herdsmen and nomadic activities are going to keep coming into our country due to the fact that we have vegetation that is very rich. Right, Honorable Speaker, when I had that comment, or when I read that piece of research, I was very worried. Because indeed it has been established that we have very porous borders. It has been established that the amount of
silence, please,
per citizen,
order, honorable members, please,
inadequate.
Order.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, you can never have development where you have insecurity.
Honorable Galadima, please. Honorable Ali Jesse.
You can never have meaningful development where you have insecurity. And indeed, it behoves on us that we must take the necessary steps to put in place the necessary apparatus to guarantee our security. Why am I in support of the Peace Corps? Right, Honorable Speaker, a lot of money is
silent, please,
on social
Honorable Soba, please resume your seat.
It's being spent
Honorable
on,
Soba, please,
on social security nets in this country. A lot of stipends are being paid to people that we term as the poorest of the poor. What are they doing? Nothing. We have a scenario here where we can set up a corps, train them properly, even if they are deployed into village areas, to maintain the peace with some form of training. It will go a long way in mitigating the security challenges we're having. We have so much porous borders. We do not have the finance to maybe pay our immigration by employing so many people. By giving these people a reduced amount of money, by giving these people a reduced amount, a salary that is not as high as the police and other organizations, because their work would be restricted to mitigation and minimum security, addressing minimum security challenges. It would go a long way in strengthening the security apparatus. Lastly, let's beam our light on the ongoing war on terror in the northeast, particularly with regards to Boko Haram. There was a particular squad, if I may use that term, that were not former security agencies, but they were assisting the military in carrying out this keeping the peace. Civilian JTF. And, Right Honorable Speaker, I happen to be a member of the Committee on Army, and I had once led a team to Maiduguri, the northeast, the heart of where all this was happening, the theater. And I can tell you for a fact, there were praises for this civilian JTF. Why? Because of the work they were doing. I believe such agencies like the Peace Corps should be put in place, properly trained. And yes, probably their finance or what will be paid will not be as high as what the formal or other agencies are collecting, but their responsibilities should be well coined out. And I believe it will strengthen the security situation of this country. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Honorable Goni. Bukar.
Right Honorable Speaker Yakubu Dogara, a man of peace. I am Right Honorable Goni Bukar Lawan, member representing Bursari, Gaidam Yunusari, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm from Yobe State. Mr. Speaker, my very respected colleagues, I stand before you this afternoon to support the Veto override just brought by the Chairman's Rules and Business. Mr. Speaker, peace is the bedrock of any development. No peace, no development. No development, no nation. Mr. Speaker, as just one of my colleagues said, all our military men are engaged. Some of them are northeast, some of them are in Sambisa, some of them are in Niger Delta, some of them are in Zamfara. You can easily find a military, even in Niger barrack here in Abuja. All of them are engaged. All policemen are engaged. And we don't have the numbers. So with this peace corps, it will, give us the enough security to tackle some of the problems happening in this country, Mr. Speaker. Only problem of this bill, the composition of the bill. So I'm appealing to the owner of the bill to look into the compositions of the bill. That is the only problems of the bill. But to me, this bill is good for the country, it's good for the nation, it's good for even the National Assembly members. We have been always talking about the security. So I am appealing to my very respected colleagues.
Silence, please. Please, honorable members, please.
Because it is only this House of Representatives talk about the masses of this country.
Order,
so
honorable members.
I'm begging you
Honorable
to please stand up, raise your voice to support this bill.
Honorable Aminu Goro, comrade, please.
I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Rita.
Silence, honorable members, please.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and distinguished colleagues. My name is Rita Oji, member representing Ajeromi Ife-Lodu Federal Constituency from Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. But I will crave your indulgence to read out chapter 11, 15, sub 3 of 1999 Constitution as amended. For the purpose of providing national integration, it shall be the state shall provide adequate facilities for and encourage free mobility of people, goods and services throughout the Federation. Secure full residence rights for every citizen of all the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, I went to this axis because when we look at what we are passing through in Nigeria, for instance, is there that free and secured movement of Nigerian citizens to various places they are going? Mr. Speaker, if I may ask my colleagues something, Peace Corps as it is, we have gotten a lot of tests on rigors of litigation based on this bill. And there are judicial pronouncements that has already been made upholding these Peace Corps. Do we now have the right to appropriate and reprobate? This House has holistically taken a look at these Peace Corps and its gains to this nation. Mr. Speaker, when I look at the issue of funding, which is one of the concerns raised by Mr. President, it was lately reported that some money that was recovered from Abacha loot will be used for the poor. We have social security networks. We have various projects that at the end of the day, it was aimed at empowering people. We don't even know where they are. We don't know what they are doing. We don't know the reason of even giving them that. And I said, if Mr. President will look inward at these monies that are being spent to people that are not really providing any services to Nigerian nation, I'll plead that the money should be chartered to the area of funding of Peace Corps. And secondly, sir, the issue of security. It is an angry man that is a hungry man. They will always refer to people in Ajebule that we have area boys. When a boy has nothing doing, when from morning till night he will be roaming up and down, what do you expect the person to do? He will be involved in one criminality or the other. I look at Peace Corps as an avenue of creating employment for the teeming youth of Nigeria. And you will take your mind away from crime and drugs. Because we are now shouting about drug abuse, codeine. When people are confused, they resort to things they can do to free their mind. I am saying, sir, that whatever we are going to do in this house, it will be very important for us to remember that a lot of us, as we sit down here today, we have many jobless youths in our constituency. And it is the job of this National Assembly to make these laws for the good governance. If this is going to create peace in your domain, as the name connotes, if it will reduce unemployment, while we do budget for agencies that are even stagnant, there are some agencies that you won't even see something reasonable coming up from their actions. Why won't we look at this one that will be a direct approach that will touch Tom, Dick, and Harry in their area? Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I'm begging this Honorable House and Mr. President to look at the spot of unemployment that is ravaging and the issues of joblessness, and look at the issue of Peace Corps as one of the ways to palliative measures. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and distinguished colleagues.
Honorable Engineer Magaji, now that you have gone back to your seat, you can speak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I noticed that, and I quietly go back to my seat. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Engineer Magaji Dao Aliyu, member from Jigawa State. Honorable colleagues, this thing is beyond sentiment. Politics is about nation building. There are processes and procedures of establishing paramilitary organization in this country. Whereas an individual wake off with his Boy Scout, went around this country, collected huge sum of money from unsuspecting youth that he wants to give them unemployment. And we are here asking that should be backed by law. The president said he's rejecting this, or he refused assent because of security. We have to consider this issue of security. When and where this individual got the training to train other people? What is his background? What are the history? We are creating more security problems than solving if we consider this bill. So I'm of the opinion, my dear colleagues, this bill should not be allowed to see the light of the day. Finally, as a law-abiding APC member, I'm not going to override Mr. President. Thank you.
Honorable Chika.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My dear colleagues, I'm Abubakar Chika Adamu. I represent Shirora Rafimuya Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Niger State. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, let's be very careful. The President made two fundamental reasons for the rejection of this bill. One, he talked about security. Two, he talked about funding. Now, on the issue of security, security is all-encompassing. Anybody who is alive in this country is aware of the so many fights between the Peace Corps heads and the police. There are allegations of weapon handling by these Peace Corps members. Where do they get the powers to engage in weapon handling? This is to tell you that we're trying to inherit a system that is so corrupt, a system that is so bastardized, a system that will, at the end of the day, destroy this nation. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, some people talk about the issue of civilian JTF. There is a clamor of state police in Nigeria. The Peace Corps will not be able
to solve the local security challenges we did have. The local people, by creation of state police, by all the state government, that is the only way for you to have people who know the environment and will be able to man the security of such environment, but not through the Peace Corps. Two, Mr. Speaker, I want to tell you, even the current structure of the security agencies we have is too much. That is why we're having problem in terms of information sharing among the security agencies we have in Nigeria. I have been saying it in this chamber. If I am the president of this country, I would collapse so many security agencies and then confine them to become Nigerian police. We don't need it. If we are to veto Mr. President, I think we just need to veto the president on the issue of 6,000 police to say, take the whole 300,000 that apply, but not to veto the president on the issue of Peace Corps. Two, as I said, issue of funding. Where are we in this country? A lot of government employees could not be paid, or a lot, as my friend Bashir Babali said, a lot of security agencies could not be kitted. So why do we create new ones? Why do we? So somebody could just wake up one day, create an institution and hand over to the government. Is that real? Mr. Speaker, this veto override is the only tool, only weapon we have when it comes to legislation, where the executive refused to agree with our laws. Now, if we bastardize the usage of veto, I think we also bastardize what we come here to do. So I don't think it is right for us to use the veto override on the issue raised by Mr. President as regard to security and as regard to funding. We are all aware this is true, and it is true, and we cannot reject it. Therefore, my dear colleagues, it is time we reject this veto override and ensure that this Peace Corps should go and become a private thing as it is. Thank you.
Honorable Jimo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm Jimo Abdurrahim Olajide. I represent Lagos Mainland, Federal Constituency, Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, sir, I've listened attentively to so many contributors in this regard. And I want to say this, that we should follow the voice of reasoning. We should follow reality on ground, and we should take into cognizance.
Silence, please. Order, honorable members, please.
In this situation, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have all heard and we have listened to so many number of things. I want to suggest that I haven't heard from the president the reason why he has declined. We have also reasoned from people who have contributed. We have so many things in common. There are so many number of people now that have been engaged one way or the other by the Peace Corps. These are Nigerians that are willing to have job opportunity, and they are numerous in number. If we engage them, it will reduce the level of unemployment. That is number one. Number two, the issue of security has been addressed. If you want to marry everything together, I think the issue of security should be taken very, very important. A peaceful environment is synchronous to economic development. That's the public saying. And I want us to look at it holistically, that there is need for us to apply wisdom. Therefore, I want to suggest, Mr. Speaker, let us have a committee that's going to be led by the leadership of this House, where we are going to sit down with the executive of government. Let us reason why this has to be done. Let's see, voice of wisdom apply in this situation. Nigerians are suffering. Nigerians are looking for employment. They are ready to serve in any capacity, particularly on security matters. If we think that this cannot go on today, we can limit our position and ensure we address it politically and resolve issues so that the relationship between the executive arm of government and legislative arm of government married to that of public will be of good interest and public interest. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Rima.
Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, my name is Remande Shaulu Kwewu. I represent Takumdonga Usa and Yangtu Federal Constituency in Taraba State. Honorable Speaker, the President gave 2 reasons for rejecting the bill. And some of the contributions that have come up on the floor of the House do not address the issues that the President raised. And I want to call our attention to 3 or so facts. The first fact is that internal security is not the responsibility of the Army or the Navy or of the Air Force. Even if you increase the numbers of people in the Air Force, in the Army, and so and you will not arrive at the solution for internal security. Therefore, the questions that need to be asked is the mandate of the Peace Corps, which the President did not complain about. Does the mandate conflict with the mandate of existing security agencies? That is one question that I think we need to address. If the mandate of the security of the Peace Corps that the President did not reject in his veto does not conflict with the mandate of the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army, then the argument that if you increase the numbers of people in the Air Force, Police, and Army will solve the problem will not suffice. Secondly, I want us to note the fact that security has different formats. Security challenges are of different, security challenges are changing in nature. One of the reasons why we are complaining today, and this House has received so many motions about security, the Army and so forth, is that the Army and the military are actually engaged today in responsibilities which should be engaged in by the police or by internal security agencies. Today we are having a situation where people call on the police, instead of calling on the police or internal security agencies, they call on the military to intervene in matters that are not, that the military ordinarily should not be engaged in. And so there is need for us to bridge the gap that we presently have in internal security agencies. The fact that people are agitating today for increased role of the police, increased role of the military, and increased role and trying to create new agencies actually show that there's a very wide gap that we have in our policing in the country which should be addressed. Today, the police have about 300,000 men or so. And these people are completely, the number is completely inadequate for Nigeria. If you look at the totality of what is required, what we need for our internal security in Nigeria today, according to the United Nations, we are supposed to have at least 10% of our population, that is 18 million people, who are helping us in our security in the country. And we don't have that. What we have is well below 1 million, which is why there are so many places today in the country that we don't have any form of security. And the fact that we don't have any form of security, many places are on police, many places are not under surveillance, means that there are many ungoverned spaces which rogue elements are using to terrorize all people in the country. So, I want us to look at this issue critically. We should not throw away something because we have problems with the way certain things evolve. The civil defense has evolved in a certain way, like a private agency too. Today it's a public agency. We're talking about rules, we're talking about laws. I want us to look at this. Do we need more security agencies? Do we need more security? Yes, we need more security. Do we need to expand the existing security agencies? Yes, we need to expand the security agencies. We need to find a formula to do it, because today Nigeria is under-policed. Nigeria has too few security men. There are too many places in Nigeria that need to have eyes of security agencies, that need to have eyes of security. We don't have that. We need to think about what we need, because there are too many ungoverned spaces in Nigeria. There are too many blind spots in Nigeria, which is why kidnappers have places that they hide and take people. If you go to other advanced countries, other countries, even countries that are not very advanced, they have a much higher population, numbers of security men, people working for security than we have in Nigeria. And we have one of the lowest in the world for the security of this country. However we need to do it, we need to increase the numbers of people that we have as security. Otherwise, these problems that we have will keep expanding. Thank you very much.
Honorable Arabo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleagues. Simon Arabo is my name. I represent Confederate constituency. I rise to lend my voice to the veto override of the Nigerian Peace Corps establishment in 2017. Now, acting under section 58(4) of the Constitution, the President refused assent to the bill. Now, under section 58(5), we have a right by the Constitution to override this veto. In the first place, veto override is not new in this parliament. It's not new. Nigerians will recall when the former President Obasanjo withheld his assent to the NDDC bill. This National Assembly vetoed his assent. And then we have the NDDC as a legal entity now. Now, the reasons given by the President in withholding his assent: first, lack of funding, and two, security. Let me take the issue of lack of funding. That reason, with all due respect, is a very convenient excuse. Is it being contended that we are going to put a freeze in this country in establishing agencies again? What are we talking about lack of funding? As far as we are concerned, if we are going to have a second look at our national budget, we'll always get money to fund agencies that are worthwhile. Now, what is the mandate of the Peace Corps? The mandate of the Peace Corps in the bill that was passed, which he refused to assent, is to develop, empower, provide gainful employment for the youth to facilitate peace, volunteerism, community services, neighborhood watch, nation building, and related matters. That is the core of the Peace Corps. Nobody doubts the fact that our country currently is in a dire state of insecurity. The stories we read every day is the reason why there is need to have the Peace Corps. The other reason of security, that one is neither here nor there also. Now, if we recall traveling through history, at the time that they were moved to set up the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, there was institutional rivalry with the Nigerian police. So what is happening is not new. And I am aware that there are addition of the courts to the effect that the Nigerian Peace Corps is not a terrorist organization. So the issue of security, therefore, falls in the face of the fact that you can use the issue of security to to refuse assent. And that is the more reason why we should invoke our powers, conferred in Section 58(5), and override this veto. We are not debating the bill, it has already been passed. If there are any other issues, once we pass it, it can be amended in the future. I therefore urge that we exercise our powers and then override the veto of the president as it concerns the Nigerian Peace Corps bill, so that we can have it, so we can have anything to call Nigerian Peace Corps for the good of the country. Thank you very much.
Honorable Sunday, then Osai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Sunday Adepoju, representing Ibarapa East and Ido Federal Constituency of Oyo State. I rise to lend my support to the vetoing of the bill. Mine will not be too much. I want to ask ourselves, as the Civil Defense Corps living up to the expectation or not? If the civil defense is performing credibly well, what stops us from having this one? Look at the benefit that we have taken from Peace Corps, civil defense. Many of us know what happened years back when civil defense was just operating. If it was not enacted, they won't be functioning as they are doing. If you are given information that there's no funding, is there any price that is too much to maintain peace in a country like this? Are you telling me that you can police Nigeria? In my town or my local government, what is the total number of police we have there? In your own village or your town, can you tell us that the number of police you have there is enough to police this country? I want you to look at what is happening in Lagos today. Lagos State is peaceful today simply because of what is happening there. The neighborhood watch, we are part and parcel of it when it was established. A lot of money is put into it, and they are doing fantastically well, of which other states of the Federation are now copying them. If Lagos State, then, under the leadership of Ashwaji Bola Tinubu, say there's no funding, then you will not see what is happening in Lagos State. If that one is happening in Lagos State and it's happening in other states, Ogun State and others, I see no reason we cannot do that one for the nation. We are talking again about employment. There are so many benefits that we are going to derive from this bill that Nigeria will be happy for it. You look at it holistically, you will see that Nigeria needs Peace Corps, and we have said a lot about employment and so many other things. Let us look at it and pass it so that Nigeria will be happy for it, because I see no reason why we'll be saying every week or every month a mini silence. Are we not tired of a mini silence? For how long are we continue to do that? Simply because we say there's no funding. And when look at the amount every year, put more fund in the budget. What are we achieving from it? For me, I support it, and I want all many Nigerians that are here elected by the people to use their mandate very well, so that we'll be happy for it. The peace of mind is very important. If you are not peaceful at home, you won't be able to do anything in this assembly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Osai.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Osai, Nicholas Osai. I represent Ndoko Kwani Federal Constituency of Delta State. Mr. Speaker, I want to support those who are against the president's override. Mr. Speaker, I am in favor of dropping this bill. Yeah, if National Assembly has made mistake in passing this bill because they didn't look at it critically, and Mr. President have pointed critical issues upon which this bill ought to be dropped, I think we should share and support Mr. President on this ground. Mr. Speaker, when you're looking at the two key issues being addressed, the issue of funding, Mr. Speaker, it is very important to think outside the box to know how we can generate funds. We didn't do that. And it was not packaged to Mr. President, this is where this funding will be domiciled to. And Mr. President, having known the pulse of the nation, have looked at it, that the only critical way to go is to drop this bill. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, we are talking about security. When we talk about security, how much are we paying police? How much are we paying police today? It's because of lack of funding. Today, yesterday, the day before yesterday, you brought up a bill on police fund. And now the issue of raising police funds and making, please, am I protected? The issue of trying to raise funds for police equipment and order is because we are looking at another alternative of making sure that police in our country function effectively. We're also looking at another alternative that civil defense function effectively. Now, why did the president talk about issues of security? It's because there's a class of conflicts. The both functions of the Peace Corps and function of police are the same. And there's nothing separating it. And that's why Mr. President, in his wisdom, feel that there will be a clash of functions. And there will be conflict. And when there's a conflict, it jeopardizes the society. And the essence of enacting law for peace and good governance of the country is defeated. Mr. Speaker, there's nothing wrong to stop the bill which you have passed before, if it is wrong, in the wrong direction. I think this is what we are talking about. And that we should be able to recorrect ourselves. That's the essence of democracy. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, you will remember, for instance, in the 7th Assembly, we funded capital projects to the tune of 500 and something billion. Today, in the 8th Assembly, we are funding capital projects to the tune of 1.3 trillion. It shows progression. It shows a society that is looking forward. It shows that recurrent expenditure is being reduced. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, I think for the first time, I am praising Mr. President for stepping down this bill. For the first time. If he does well, we praise him. But if he goes wrong, we also lash him. That's the essence and the beauty of democracy. On this ground, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, I urge all of you to urge the most enterprising chairman of business and rule of this great chamber to step down this bill. Thank you.
We'll take from the whip and then we'll close from this side.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, my distinguished colleagues. My name is Honorable Alassane Ado Dogwa. Mr. Speaker, I represent Dogwa Tudunwada Federal Constituency, and I am from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, let me first of all extend a very good, warm handshake to my colleague, Right Honorable Osaye, Nicholas Osaye, whom has just finished making his contribution. And incidentally, he said that there are matters, when we come to discuss them, we must have to be dispassionate. I am sincerely and genuinely encouraged by the dispassionate nature and manner in which Honorable Osaye has discussed this issue. And in the light of that, Mr. Speaker, I also want to be guided by the issue you raised, that when we come to discuss a matter of this nature, we just look at the reasons offered by Mr. President, discuss them. We do not have to use the platform now to re-debate the bill. We will only discuss and speak to the issues raised by Mr. President in objecting to assent to the bill. And in this light, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I would like us to look at it this way. I agree with most of the issues raised by people who have raised concerns about the security of this nation. I am also very passionate about the issue of unemployment, which of course this organization would have provided to teeming youth who have not been employed. I have great and tremendous respect for these concerns raised by honorable members, but we look at it this way. A situation whereby you're coming up with an organization that is paramilitary, an organization that can be called a security-bound organization, an organization that will have access, constitutional access to rifles and arms. And you now pass a bill, passed to Mr. President, and in this case, the president we have, who is also the commander-in-chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and I want to remind members that in this case, the CNC, in person of Muhammadu Buhari, is incidentally also a general who has fought so many aggressions within and outside Nigeria to keep the territorial integrity of this nation. And he now says, on the strength of an observation to do with a security matter, that on security reasons, he is objecting this bill. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I want to plead with us that as a general and commander-in-chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces, who has now raised this issue, who has raised an objection on the basis of security, I think we need to respect this objection and give it to him, because he was a general in the army, and I believe by being the CNC now, is also a general, and he has had a lot of access to some of these security issues that we may not necessarily have access to. In this view, in this case, therefore, I want to appeal to members to allow Mr. President this veto he has sent back, or this bill he has sent back to the House, and let us not veto him. He has vetoed it, and we should not override him on the ground that he might have known quite a lot that we have not known. I want to also suggest that if we are talking about the security of the nation, we have other existing security organizations. The Nigerian Armed Forces is there. Mr. Speaker, the police is also there. Mr. Speaker, we have the Nigeria Civil Defense Corps. I think it will be much better for us to encourage the government to consolidate in areas of funding, to consolidate in areas of strategy and training on this existing security organization, than come up with a new organization, and at the end of the day, we dissipate efforts, we dissipate expenditure of Nigerian funds, and at the end of the day, you have too much in your hand that we cannot be able to manage. Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal to honorable members. I also want to appeal to Mr. Speaker as well to see reason in the veto of Mr. President in this direction, and I want us to please allow it go and allow Mr. President to continue. The peace corps you are talking about, Mr. Speaker, it is called peace corps because we want to ensure peace in the country. And you may recall, there was a time when the peace corps organization was even taken to court in connection with issues to do with corruption. I'm not sure what judgment the court has passed about that, but this is also another issue that we must have to look at, so that an organization of this nature will be only taken on in a very right direction, and to start on a very clean spade. If we still have to consider this bill maybe for passage, we must have to give to the president for now, and maybe wait at a more appropriate time when vulnerability of the nation is quite on the low side, when exposure, financial security exposure is also quite low on the part of the nation, and we may conveniently take it at that later time. I want to urge honorable members, especially my colleagues in the PDP, to please reason with what we have been doing under the Muhammadu Buhari administration. The only panacea, the only access to peace is not Nigeria Peace Corps. The only access is to make sure that we vote Muhammadu Buhari for a second time, so that peace will really prevail in Nigeria. This is my submission. Thank you.
Honorable Baba Jimmy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Baba Jimmy Benson. I represent the very good people of the Ikorodu Federal Constituency, Lagos. Mr. Speaker, I do not support this override, and I agree all fours with what the Chief Whip said and my honorable colleague Osai. Mr. Speaker, I believe that the Peace Corps bill, the signing of it, or the override of it, will not assist in any way in bringing down the security issues we have in Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, a lot of energy is dissipated on this matter. I believe we should rechannel our energy towards establishing state police. People have said a lot about what Lagos State is doing, the neighborhood watch, and these are state-led initiatives that gives power to the community and the local people. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge all members to please put all sentiments aside and support the amendment of the Constitution to allow states to be able to operate their police. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Oguma Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and my distinguished colleagues, I am Honorable Johnson Negwahide Oguma. I represent
all the people of Veto Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Chief Whip, Honorable Sayo Sai, and my brother Jimmy, the last speaker, for their wisdom, and to appeal to the mover of the sponsor of this bill, the chairman, House Rules and Business, and to say that the two reasons given by the president, mainly the security aspect of it, I want to concentrate. That if we are all aware about the paucity of funds in Nigeria, but the area of security, we know that the president is not, he is a general, a retired general in the army, and at the same time, he's a father and somebody that will, at least will look into an issue that concerns the employment of Nigerian youth with an eagle eye. I believe that Nigerian youth, they need employment, but not a free volunteerism jobs that Nigerian youth are looking for. They want jobs that with dignity of labor where they can work and be paid, not jobs that they will do at will in some areas or in some countries where such organizations are organized. Everything is spent out. You are told whether if it is volunteerism, whether it is for 1 year or it's for 2 years, at what stage you enter, when you are expected to leave, all those ones are spent out. I'm only saying if we look into the security aspect of it, when we have an organization that is voluntary, it could encourage, it could be an avenue for terrorist organization, Boko Haram, to volunteer into it and infiltrate our society and create even more problems for us than the solutions that we are trying to find for problems. So I'm appealing to our conscience, let us tread softly, let us not go into altercation with our president. Let's sit with him and please step down this bill while we interact with executive and find a way of finding solutions to our security issues in the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I dig, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I remain Idi Gyang, the member representing Barikin Ladi Region Federal Constituency. I'm from Plateau State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I want to say I'm rising to still give life to this bill and to say that we should not throw away the baby with the bathwater. The President, in withholding assent to this bill, advanced two reasons, that of funding and that of security. In the axis of security, he did not disclose to Parliament what those security concerns are. I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that we have to juxtapose the reasons advanced by Mr. President for withholding assent against the accruable benefits from the mandate of the Peace Corps, which have been well advanced by the sponsor of the bill. And in the area of funding, I want to say on the grounds of funding, the issue is simply for us to take that of opportunity cost, either to deny the Nigerian youths that are already captured by the Peace Corps employment, or we give them and create an opportunity for them. And we should not deny them this opportunity and yet brand them as being lazy. So I strongly want to support that we give life to this bill and allow it to go on a second reading. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues.
Honorable Musa, and then Chairman Rules and Business will round up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Musa Sarkin Adar, I represent Gadago Federal Constituency. I am from Sokoto State. I feel agitated to rise and speak against this bill unequivocally. Mr. Speaker, various speakers have spoken or against. I'm concerned the way we are going to compromise our honor. Already, it is widely speculated outside and within this chamber that this bill is being brought back through some cynical means. Some members have spoken that their constituents have been asked to provide 50,000 naira so that they could be employed. I am also a victim of such unfortunate incidents. Though at the time it happened about 2 years ago, there were even offers given to most of those potential prospective candidates. Our concern here should be, if we allow this bill to scale through, we have validated the allegation that we are for sale, because those people who collected 50,000 naira from each applicant were saying they were coming to lobby the National Assembly with such money. If we allow that to happen, that means we are for sale. And I know I am not for sale. Everybody here is not for sale. Anything contrary to that will now say we are for sale. I want to put it on record. My children are all grown up. The people who voted me into this office are all seeing me and they believe in my integrity that I'm not for sale. And I also want every member here to tell his constituents that he is not for sale, and collectively we are not for sale. Mr. Speaker, if we continue and allow this bill to scale through, it means we are negating the anti-corruption crusade of President Muhammad Buhari. We should not allow ourselves to be seen as enemies of progress, enemies of justice. If we allow this to go on, it is already speculated we are working in connivance with people outside the forces fighting anti-corruption crusade of President Muhammad Buhari. I am not against anti-corruption crusade. Even if I'm to be arraigned of any offense that I committed individually, I'm ready to face it, but I'm not ready to come here and allow some people outside to come and use us for their purpose. And we should not allow that to happen. Some of our colleagues have mentioned here severally, if the reasons for those advocating for this bill to get through is issue of insecurity. Order. This Peace Corps cannot provide what the police have failed to provide it. The police have been in existence for the first 100 years in this country, since 1914. We have police force, they have been trained by the colonial masters, and later, subsequently, they have been trained by the various institutions established in this country. We have various police academies in Lagos, in Kano, in Jos, in Sokoto, in Bauchi, in Yola, everywhere. What institution do we have that can train this Peace Corps? They will rely on either of the existing police structure or the civil defense structure. They are already at loggerheads with the police.
This is the Nigerian Television Authority's live transmission from the Green Chambers of the National Assembly, where members have thus far been debating on a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Peace Corps. And that's the much we can take on today's plenary. We thank you for being there. On behalf of the transmission crew, I am Lami Ali, inviting you to enjoy the rest of our programs.